And this is really going to transform industries in significant ways. One of the hardest things for humans to do is imagine scale. And scale is definitely going to be applied because you think about AI agents like a chatbot on your website or an automated process. Yeah, it makes sense. I'll have an AI agent at my organization someday. But what you're going to see is armies of agents and maybe one decider agent. So imagine just for a second that you have to post on social media today. And let's just call it X for simplicity's sake. Well, what you're going to see in the near future is you're going to have 100 agents write copy that you can post that day. Then you're going to have one agent that captures it, creates a list of the top 5, and then now you are only looking at the 5 best things that you can post on X that day. But it's been sorted from hundreds of iterations. That type of scale is what we're going to see a lot in organizations moving forward. So the decisions and actions we take are going to be incredibly data-based and incredibly researched by not just one tool, but by hundreds, if not thousands of tools. And you're going to see these I don't like the word swarm, but groups of agents, and that now you don't have one marketer, you have 100 marketers. Now you don't have one coder, you have 100 coders for whatever you want to do. And I would argue, over the course of the next 5 years, we're going to see one of the very first multi-million-dollar companies where only one person is the employee because they're able to leverage these AI tools at such scale.
Hi, I'm Kevin Gentry, and welcome to the TenX Strategies webinar series, where we help great causes like yours transform your effectiveness by 10xing your fundraising. And we do that by hosting guests, accomplished practitioners who work through a lot of their own examples and successes of how they've been able to raise more funds in a way, hopefully, that you can take these lessons and apply them to your own good work. If you want to learn more, check out our website, 10xstrategies.com. That's TenXstrategies.com. Be sure to take advantage of the free fundraising resources. You can sign up for the free weekly fundraising tip. But for now, take a look at today's webinar. We're so glad to have you. Thanks for being with us. Many of you who joined us today are very familiar with Stephen Rowe. Stephen is quite the expert, not only in a lot of areas of digital fundraising, but also in the uses of artificial intelligence. And this is a timely subject, and we're very grateful, Stephen, that you could join us. Stephen, welcome. It's good to have you as part of the webinar today.
Thank you so much. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here and trying to excite people with the world of artificial intelligence. We've got some good stuff today.
Excellent. Well, there's some fear about artificial intelligence. There's some skepticism. It's interesting, but I think that there's also a lot of FOMO developing as well. People are now seeing that, well, gee, maybe I need to learn about this, not only to increase my own effectiveness, but so that I'm not beaten by the proverbial competition. So, Stephen, I just want to share a little bit more about your background, and then let's just dive in. I think you've got a great track record and history and journey in this, and you can comment on it more, but you're from the great treasure state of Montana. You got involved in GOP politics there, and then ultimately, through Governor Greg Gianforte, you helped develop a digital effort related to some policy efforts that he had going on, and then that kind of took you to Turning Point USA, where you became editor-in-chief of their Hypeline, which really grew in audience and in capability. And then you went to the Leadership Institute, where not only did you do so much training, you developed their online training platform, their digital online training platform, and you've been sharing all this stuff. And then along the way, developing this expertise in artificial intelligence. So you're well positioned for this conversation today. Well, to kick us off, Stephen, why, in your judgment, is it important that as fundraisers, we learn more about the application of artificial intelligence?
Yes, and thank you for the introduction. It makes me sound so cool, too. I love that. Yeah, just a little bit more on the introduction, and I'll answer your question directly. And yeah, I come from the great state of Montana. I always joke with people that you meet a Montanan about once every 7 years. So hopefully until 2032, I'm a good representative of my state for all of us here on this call. And yes, I usually joke with people that we have a 3-to-1 ratio there. It's 3 cows for every human. And well, there were 7 black guys in Montana before I left, and now there's 6, but really a beautiful state. If you get the chance to go, I couldn't recommend it enough. And I've been diving into the intersection of digital and politics my entire life. And it started in Montana, it's taking me to Washington, D.C. But most importantly, to everybody tuning in today, it's vital to utilize the internet. And I remember back in the day, the digital person, if there's like a campaign table, so to speak, it's kind of off to the side, like, yeah, we'll post some things on social media. These days, especially when you think about artificial intelligence and digital and the world of fundraising, these people are right next to you these days and helping you with online fundraising and AI. So it's so important for nonprofits to take advantage of this technology. And the thing to say at the top really is that this is not going to go away. This is not some fad, right? This is something that's going to be with us for the foreseeable future, and it is excelling faster than ever before. The context I love to give people is think about ChatGPT, something all of us fundraisers likely have used quite a bit at this point, and it's part of our daily workflow, but it's just a little over the 2 years old. And in 2 years, AI has radically transformed the way that we're able to make an impact. All those dream projects like A/B testing with 6 different variations that would have taken a staff of 6 or more people can now be done by a single fundraiser using and leveraging the power of AI. And what I will say, I get the question a lot, will AI take my job? I think the answer is no, but I do believe fundraisers that are powered by artificial intelligence are going to run over organizations that are not. So it's so vital that we learn the tips, the strategies, and the tactics to be successful with AI in the workforce for fundraising.
Well, thanks, Steve. I couldn't agree more. And I'll confess, I was a bit of a skeptic at first as well. But I found just the amazing usages of being able to take lots of notes and put them into a coherent outline or memo or letter. It's just one use. But to be able to utilize it to organize data and to understand the data, prioritize the data, stuff that was just very challenging to do. And the multiple uses much better than I do. We've been talking about several of them in the fundraising tips recently. Would you walk us through what you see as some of the best uses in the fundraising space, whether it's in the written form, in audio and video, whether it's in data analysis? What are some of the uses you see?
Yeah, there's some incredible use cases and some practical things people can do right away. The best one being, of course, analyzing what you already have. And I think the best place for people who are just getting started with AI is to audit. Audit your web pages, audit your copy, audit your marketing sends, and you're going to find areas for improvement right away, whether it's the style of the message or testing multiple messages or being able to see things in between the lines of the data, which is so impactful. And so the first place I recommend people start is with that audit. And think about the question, how can I apply artificial intelligence to what I'm doing to make what I'm doing more efficient? And if you start approaching your work with that mindset, you're going to start seeing a tremendous amount of opportunity for you. And there is a ton to explore. And so I actually have just a couple quick things to share with the class here right away. And let me go ahead and share my screen in 3, 2, 1, and poof. All right, we are here. And there's a couple cool resources. I want to make this as practical for people as possible. And if you've never seen things like this before, this may make a large difference in what you're doing on a daily basis. And so this first one, notebooklm.google.com, is a fantastic platform because you can synthesize all of your PDFs, which is so cool. I went ahead and did one ahead of time. So I pulled the Cato Institute's 2023 annual report. It's a PDF. All you have to do is click into it. And then from there, you are able to chat with this PDF. You can add a note, audio overview. You can do a mind map. You down here on the lower right-hand side can actually even create a study guide, create notes, a briefing document, and all of these things. A briefing document. Yeah, that's so cool. So Stephen, you're telling me if I upload a PDF of, let's say, imagine a donor, and I can create a briefing document of them based on the notes that I've taken before I have a call with that individual. Yes, that's absolutely going to supercharge that conversation and make sure that it's geared directly for that particular individual. And it's also useful for you, right? How many cool things can you create now synthesizing this type of information? There's quite a bit for sure. But it's not just that. let's imagine you have a PDF and you want to make it a presentation. You want to give it to a donor, for example. I love using sites. And for context, before I keep going, I just want to say I'm not paid by any of these people to recommend their products. And all the things I recommend to you have at least a free trial. So it's at least free to try. So I'm not selling you anything. Although if you know anybody who works at these organizations that wants to start paying me, we'll talk after the webinar. But back to the presentation here. So with Gamma.app, you can actually upload files or upload a website from there, and it can create a presentation. So using the same exact thing, I have this Cato Institute report that we saw that we can now chat with, right, in Notebook LM. But let's say we want to transform this into a presentation for a donor. We can make this a web page. We can make this a slide deck. Gamma is by far the best presentation maker leveraging AI. But how many times have we created pitches? How many times have we created briefing docs, or have we created assets for our donors and partners of our various organizations? This is a really good way to do it. So as you can see, it's already uploaded. Presentation, web page, document, or social. And just for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and just click continue, but there's a lot of cool customizations, and you can choose the theme to make sure it matches your colors, it's your style, everything of that nature. And from there, it's going to go ahead and create based off of PDF. But I'm thinking about people on this call right now. I know for you that's watching this call, you have these PDFs that can now turn into valuable assets inside of your organization for partners, for donors, and even internally. Look at this PDF creator, create something that's pretty compelling. We'll scroll up just a little bit so you can see that it created a cool image here. We've got some numbers that it pulled, and this is really valuable stuff that you can immediately start sharing right away. And let's say this is wrong. Well, I can just go in here and edit, but this is 90% of the way done. Now, that's pretty cool. But Stephen, you pretty much just showed me how to leverage PDFs. What are some other cool things that are possible here? One of my favorite tools I've been using today is called Lovable. This one's also free, lovable.dev. And basically it's as it says, an idea to app in seconds. And what I love to do is basically I have these bold visions for my tech team and for my web developers. And I have this thing in my head, but I don't know how to communicate it with other people. Well, what's cool about this technology is basically you can create the rough draft or the skeleton or the outline and then go and ask your professionals to then create it. And it's not going to be this back and forth situation because you can give them exactly what they need to create and they can go and create that, or you can even launch it with Lovable if you have that type of authority. So one quick example of this, I created a website using Lovable to stop Big Roo. I've been honest with people on this call many times. If you heard me speak before, you know that I'm anti-kangaroo. I really don't like kangaroos. And so I created this website to say, hey, we can do this, right? Imagine that you create a website in 1 minute and it has all of these tabs and this About Us section, voices from the movement, and this homepage, Hollywood's Lies, and you can join with your email with just typing into Lovable. So I really recommend if you have a web page idea, a landing page idea, a fundraising initiative idea, try and use Lovable to create a strong first draft, and you're going to be able to pitch your boss and pitch your web team so many creative and compelling ideas along the way. So those are some of the things that are possible. I've got a couple more in the tour, but the way I like to tell people, coming back to here, that you should think about AI is in the modality. And those people have that text modality in their head. Like I can create an email, I can create a text message, I can create, some type of written copy. That's amazing. But know that there are many more modalities that you can leverage along the way. Some of the cool ones that I encourage you to experiment with, Lovable is a good example of one of them, which is code. I mean, I don't know necessarily the most advanced Python functions and how to create everything from a programming perspective, but the new programming language is English. The new programming language is not Python. It is not Swift or anything of that nature. We all are now empowered by AI to really create things that have never existed before. Then from there, you've got images, you've got videos. There's so many modalities that I encourage you to explore, and then think about how could this be useful to my fundraising efforts? And you're going to start seeing a lot of clear answers because you just start playing with these tools. And before I kick it back to you, I just want to say one other thing too, which is this starts by simply trying. A lot of this really is just talking to these machines. And a lot of it is like, I don't know where to begin. Well, the best thing about most of these websites is they've got a blinking cursor at you and you can type in there whatever you want. And I encourage you just to begin. And you're going to find some amazing things. And we'll keep exploring the world of large language models and everything else in this conversation. But those are just some of the cool different modalities that you can experience leveraging artificial intelligence.
Phenomenal. This is really outstanding, Stephen. And I want to encourage folks to go ahead and put your questions into the chat or Q&A. I'm going to monitor those. We're committed to going half an hour, so we're going to pack as much in here as possible. Stephen, the main objection I hear is that, oh, it just sounds AI, it looks AI, so donors are going to sniff that out, and so I'm going to avoid using it. Tell us how things have adapted so quickly and how you can essentially train AI on your voice and even your strange little anachronisms and things like that and cliches. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, gone are the days of us just, asking ChatGPT for something, getting it back, and then putting it in email and sending it. You are now these days able to truly curate the copy. And I've heard this complaint before. You can kind of tell, right? You can tell when it's ChatGPT. The answer increasingly for those of us on this call, especially after we see some of these tactics here, is that you are not going to be able to tell. And it's going to be able to mimic so many people. And I really challenge you to create these types of things. So let me share my screen one more time and show you what I'm talking about here. We're going to use a basic large language model, the one you know, the one you love. Yes, it is indeed ChatGPT. And so I just have this Zoom bar in front of me. Hold on just one moment here as I click over to my slide. So there's a couple really cool features in here. Hold on one moment. I'm going to get back to that one real quick. And that is that we can create these custom GPTs. And creating custom GPTs is like using ChatGPT. We're just typing into it, but it has saved instructions, which is so powerful. And there's so many of them that you can leverage for awesome stuff. One example that I have here right now is this is the Cato copywriter. So it audits and improves writing in the voice of the Cato Institute. And these things are really easy to create as well, which makes this experience delightful. But what I challenge you to do as an actionable item for people watching this webinar right now is you should try and create a custom GPT of your boss and of yourself, or your main principles, so to speak. And all you have to do is take their writing, copy and paste it in here and say, copy the style, mimic the persona of this individual, and you can have this in perpetuity. And so I have a lot of these, and I'll share one story at Leadership Institute, and promise not to tell my former boss because I love him to death. His name's Morton Blackwell, one of the best men I've ever met in my life. But anyways, so I had to write emails all the time. And so I created this custom GPT called the LI Copy Guardian, and it has the LI writing standards manual inside of it with some extra tips and tricks in there. And I write my emails, I push it through the Copy Guardian. Now it's 100% approved copy, right? I'm getting no edits back on anything that I'm creating. And I sent my email to about 30,000 of my closest friends. And what happened is the first response I got back was from Morton Blackwell himself saying, Stephen, this is an excellent email, very fine communication. But little did he know, he doesn't even know about this custom GPT that exists along the way. And these are so powerful. So I already, like I said, have one for the Cato Institute. There's a lot of great ones here that you can create. All you need to do this is the $20 a month subscription with ChatGPT. So at this point, this is the only thing that costs money in this entire conversation, and I strongly encourage it. Once you do, you just click this Explore GPTs up here on the top right-hand corner is this Create, and now you can begin talking to it. And what's awesome on the back end in this Configure button is the upload files. And so this is its knowledge base. And so basically imagine for a second that you download your emails, you download your tweets from X, you download your posts from LinkedIn, and then you upload it to this custom GPT. And now it knows how you think. It knows the topics that you write about. It knows the style and everything of that nature. And now you can output so much, right? And even better is you can combine these things together. So I know I get excited and I move quickly. So let me pause for a second and say we're back at the homepage of just ChatGPT. This is exactly where we are. Now we're going to go to our profile picture, which is generally in the top right-hand corner. It used to be in the bottom left, but they just moved this around. But there's this fancy tool. There's two of them that you need to use here. And most people don't know these are here. And this is free for anybody. Number one is tasks. And so with tasks, you can ask ChatGPT to do things in the future. But think about this for a second. It now knows your writing style. It now knows your tweet history or your email history, etc. How about a task every day is to come up with 5 posts for X that I can share with my audience, right? To better engage with them, or 5 posts for LinkedIn. And maybe I use them, maybe I don't, but ChatGPT creates them for me every day and I can decide if I want to use them or not. Very powerful stuff. But even more than that, how do you make it not ChatGPT or sound like AI? This is the secret tool. If you want to do it for free, you don't want to go down the custom GPT route, it's pressing this button right here, Customize ChatGPT. So once you click Customize ChatGPT, these are saved customizations that you can toggle on and off depending on when you want them and when you don't. So it knows what I do. It knows the traits that it should have and anything else about you. So if you're always talking to a conservative audience, you can tell it, hey, we're messaging to conservatives, and it's going to start using words like freedom and liberty. And if you're on the opposite side, it might use the words of like progressive and, the words of the left. I'm less familiar, I must admit, but very great that you're able to customize these. And now this is baked in to all the conversations that you have. So in my case, I just have some basic copywriting 101, right? Strong persuasive language, short sentences and simple terms, backup main points. One of my favorite ways to remove the ChatGPT-ness of messages is actually removing M dashes. Now, I will say there's a lot of fantastic copywriters here that are probably frustrated because you used M dashes and then ChatGPT came and now everyone's using M dashes and people are accusing you of maybe just using AI, but that's how you've written in the past. And I feel for you, my friends. I feel for you if you're in that bucket. But what I recommend for those of us that traditionally have not used M dashes is to ask it not to use them in its message. And now it's not using those long dashes. It looks way more human, especially when it's using short sentences as well. And it's stylized in the way that I need it to go. So customizing your ChatGPT is the free way to do it. The level 2, level 3 way to go is to create a custom GPT, because then it's going to have a knowledge base of your work. And then you automate tasks on top of that. And you've got some really powerful tools at your disposal, making sure the copy always aligns to the expectations that you have for your writing. So that's some of the best things that I recommend for making things not ChatGPT.
All right, that's superb, Stephen. And first of all, for the question, what is an M dash? It's the lazy way that we utilize to sound more conversational rather than use formal punctuation. We just stick in 2 hyphens between phrases as if we're continuing to talk. And it is utilized a lot in AI. But you're totally right. I would suggest 2 things, and hopefully this addresses some of the questions that are being asked. Although I think you actually, in the course of the last 3 minutes, answered a lot of the questions that were being asked. So very few people write effectively in whatever form, correspondence, fundraising letters, email communications, etc. There's a tendency for us to be too wordy. We put in details we just don't need. We can't fully organize our thoughts in our mind to communicate. I mean, there's some really good writers out there, but there are plenty that are just not that efficient and effective. And I'm not even touching on the ones that are just painfully brutal to read. And you're like, I don't even know what they're trying to communicate. What I found that AI does is it takes all of the same stuff you're trying to communicate, but condenses it in a way that just makes a whole lot more sense. And it doesn't waste the time of going into extraneous points that just aren't necessary. So that's number one. And then number 2, in terms of training your voice, if you go back and edit what's produced and yet feed back in your final product, it's going to make it smarter, right? It's going to make it better in terms of you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I'd only add one additional thing that's a relatively new feature for those of us not using ChatGPT every day. It's that it has memory at this point. And so you can toggle this on or toggle this off, but it's going to remember your conversations at this point. And so you can leverage previous conversations to inform future conversations. And that's a really powerful tool, especially when it comes to uniform writing style, knowing exactly who you are or the topics or subjects that you like to discuss with these AI tools. I'll give you one example. I'm in charge of creating bullet points for like what I've accomplished in the past week. Well, I used AI. I said, hey, based on what I've talked to you about, name some accomplishments. I didn't use every single accomplishment, but there was a few that I was like, oh, that's a good starting point. That's a good starting point, and was able to kind of formulate that message just a lot quicker. The other things that are really great are, like I said, feeding it that previous information, but even current information. An email comes in, paste it into ChatGPT, say respond. And over time, you can train this ChatGPT to really respond in your style, and you're now way more responsive as a whole. One quick story there is I worked with a representative in Texas. Her name's Caroline Harris. She was the youngest. She might still be the youngest, but it's been a year. So maybe there was another younger person. I don't think so, though. Anyways, we created a custom GPT for her office called Caroline's Constituents. And now an intern walking in, because it's been trained so much, let's say you get an email from a constituent, they can push it through that custom GPT, get a response, and then send it out. And it's reduced their response times from a day to basically an hour. And it has that institutional knowledge, which is so valuable. So in case someone gets a new job or the intern has to go up and graduate from college and go off somewhere else, that GPT is ready for the next person to take advantage of that knowledge. So very, very valuable stuff indeed.
And to wrap this up, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll follow up on today's webinar with an email later this afternoon. For me, the transformational consequences of this are when you're a small organization, you have a small handful of donors and a small team, you can kind of get by doing things, kind of sharing little ideas back and forth. But as you grow, there's no way you can leverage that with that same kind of team without this kind of deep knowledge, these deep insights that Stephen is talking about. And then it just transforms it. I mean, we know, for example, that direct response, direct mail, digital is a way to leverage the individual conversation. But what AI does is it leverages the knowledge and information in a way that is just, it's mind-blowing. I think this is our opportunity to truly 10X. I'm going to convert a lot of this stuff, and again, into some blog posts, some other stuff that will be actionable for you. But Stephen, close us out. First of all, a number of people said, what's better? Is it Grok? Is it ChatGPT? You can share whatever you want, but just close us out with where you see this headed over the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love ChatGPT to answer quickly. Grok is amazing because it's real time and connected to X. I love Grok. I love Gemini as well. I think they're fantastic. But ChatGPT with the custom GPTs really takes you to the next level. And they have the smartest LLM as of today. I know things change on a weekly basis in the world of AI, but as of right now, ChatGPT o3 is the smartest AI model on the market. So that's why I recommend that one. The other bad side of Gemini, though, is if you ask someone to like go vote, it won't do it. That's kind of frustrating. So Gemini is great for personal uses and not the best for political application. ChatGPT will write that email right away. But where we're going, we are at the advent of artificial general intelligence, what people classify as AGI. And there's different levels from there. But generally, when people think about AGI, is that it's basically Einstein. And we are probably about a month or two away from that being reality. Some would argue we are already in artificial general intelligence. Some say it's a moving goalpost and others say it's just a few months away. But by the end of this year, I think we'll all be pretty certain that we are living in a world of artificial general intelligence. The next step from there is ASI, artificial super intelligence. And this is really going to transform industries in significant ways. One of the hardest things for humans to do is imagine scale. And scale is definitely going to be applied because you think about AI agents like a chatbot on your website or an automated process. Yeah, it makes sense. I'll have an AI agent at my organization someday. But what you're going to see is armies of agents and maybe one decider agent. So imagine just for a second that you have to post on social media today. And let's just call it X for simplicity's sake. Well, what you're going to see in the near future is you're going to have 100 agents write copy that you can post that day. Then you're going to have one agent that captures it, creates a list of the top 5, and then now you are only looking at the 5 best things that you can post on X that day, but it's been sorted from hundreds of iterations. That type of scale is what we're going to see a lot in organizations moving forward. So the decisions and actions we take are going to be incredibly data-based and incredibly researched by not just one tool, but by hundreds, if not thousands of tools. And you're going to see these I don't like the word swarm, but groups of agents, and that now you don't have one marketer, you have 100 marketers. Now you don't have one coder, you have 100 coders for whatever you want to do. And I would argue, over the course of the next 5 years, we're going to see one of the very first multi-million-dollar companies where only one person is the employee, because they're able to leverage these AI tools at such scale. So you're going to see a lot of that. But the other thing I would say to close this out is, we're all a little bit of secret cyborgs in our organizations, where sometimes you tell people you're using ChatGPT, sometimes you're telling people that you're not. I really encourage a arena of transparency at your organization. Share best practices, share tips, share those custom GPTs across your organization, and you're going to find you're going to unlock a lot of power and potential. The best time to start using AI was yesterday, but the next best time is right now. So get started, share your information, and you're going to see a lot of cool AI victories in the future.
Thank you, Stephen. And if you're not signed up for the fundraising tips, I urge you to do so, because we're going to be sharing a lot more information about this. I know it's kind of scary, but I'll share some advice from a great mentor of mine, Richard Viguerie, well known to many of you all, the godfather of political direct mail. Many years ago on a similar topic, he said, there's a tendency, especially for conservatives, to kind of look to the past, look back, and a little wary to the future. But we've got to run into the future with our arms wide open if we're going to embrace the innovation that has already driven so much positive change over the past hundreds of years. So this is our opportunity to take things to a much higher level. Stephen Rowe, it's a pleasure having you. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us, and we'll be back to you again soon. Thanks a lot. Well, thanks for joining us for today's TenX Strategies webinar. I hope you found this valuable, and please take advantage of these resources as much as is helpful to you. Check out our website, tenxstrategies.com. That's TENX strategies.com. Sign up for the free weekly fundraising tip if you're not already there, and you're welcome to share these resources with others, including a recording of today's program. We're all about helping you get to the root causes of the problems in society with the solutions that you offer, but to transform your effectiveness by 10xing your fundraising. Thanks for being with us today, and hope to see you again soon.